In today's lesson, we're going to discuss functions, tables, and graphs, and we're going to look at how they are all connected. So we will start out with a function that is in the form of an equation, and it might be in function notation, or maybe it will be written with the y equals 4x minus 5. And we will use the function to create an xy table and then we can use the xy table to graph points. So this is just kind of an overview and introduction of today's lesson. So now let's get started into some specific examples. For our first example, we will start with the function of x equals 2x minus 3, which is the same thing if we were to just write y equals 2x minus 3. And now in my table, I will have all of my x values. The middle column is just where I show my work. And then the third column, where it says f of x, which I often will just use y. That's why I call it the xy table, because we have x and we have y. Alright, you can pick any values you want for x. I say to get a really good graph, you choose two negative numbers, always choose 0, and then choose two positive numbers. So I could choose -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Just a pretty good standard. You could always use those numbers, but you can vary it, whatever you like. So if those are my x values, those are the numbers I am plugging in for x. So when I'm showing my work, I have 2 times x, but x is -2 minus 3. For the next one, it would be 2 times -1 minus 3. 2 times 0 minus 3. 2 times 1 minus 3. And 2 times 2 minus 3. So just notice I always have 2 times x, and then the number comes from my x column, and then I always have minus 3. So now I just have to figure out what all of these equal, and I will get my y values. So 2 times -2 is -4, minus 3 is -7. 2 times -1 is -2, minus 3 is -5. 2 times 0 is 0, minus 3 is -3. 2 times 1 is 2, minus 3 is -1. 2 times 2 is 4, minus 3 is 1. So you probably caught on to the pattern that my y values are increasing by 2. But now, after I create my xy table for this function, I have to plot the points. And just know that the points, so the first one, you would have the point x value -2, y value -7. So -2, -7, plot the point. The next one, you'd have the point -1, -5. So -1, -5, plot the point. The point 0, -3. So 0, -3. 1, -1. And then the point 2, 1. Now, for today's lesson, all of our points will always be graphed in a straight line. If you don't get a straight line, then you have a mistake that you need to go find. And we're going to connect them and extend them in a perfect straight line. So what we have done is we have graphed the function. So here we have this function. These are points that correlate to the function, and this is the graph of that function. Functions, tables, graphs. Alright, for the second example, we have the function of x, f of x equals 3/4 x plus 1. So same thing, xy table, I have to pick x values, and then I'll show my work, and then I will get my y values. Now, once again, I always like to have two negative numbers, 0, two positive numbers. And in the last example, I just went with 1, 2, 0, -1, -2. I'm going to choose different numbers this time, and it's because I have a fraction. If I just choose any numbers, I'm probably going to get stuck with decimals and fractions, and they're just kind of a pain to graph. So, x values that will guarantee to get rid of my fraction. Since my denominator is 4, I'm going to choose multiples of 4. But same idea, two negative numbers. So I'm going to choose -8, -4, 0, 4, and 8. Choosing multiples of the denominator will guarantee that I will not have a decimal for my y values. Alright, so let's plug all of these in. 3/4 times -8 plus 1. 3/4 times -4 plus 1. 3/4 times 0 plus 1. 3/4 times 4 plus 1. And 3/4 times 8 plus 1. So there is my work, and I need to calculate all of these to figure out what my y values are that correlate to my x values. So, 3/4 times -8. We know how to multiply fractions and integers. Well, I could do the cross simplify. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6, but 1 is negative, so my final answer is negative. So -6 plus 1 is -5. 3/4 times a -4, my 4's cancel, but it's still negative, so -3 plus 1 is -2. 3/4 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. 3/4 times 4, my 4's cancel, 3 plus 1 is 4. 3/4 times 8, these would cross simplify, so I get 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So now I need to plot those points. I need to plot the point -8, -5. Plot the point -4, -2. Plot the point 0, 1. 4, 4. And then 8, 7. And remember, in this lesson, you will always have straight lines, so if you ever get like a stray point, then that means something went wrong in your table. But they're in a straight line, so let's connect them and extend them. This is the graph of this function, and we were able to graph it with an XY table. Alright, let's quickly do the last example. So I have the function of x is equal to -x plus 4. XY table at -x plus 4, pick my x values, solve for my y values, plot those points. Alright, so we don't have a fraction, so we don't have to worry about that denominator and trying to figure out special x values. So let's just do two negative numbers, a 0, and two positive numbers. So I'm just picking random ones. -5, -3, 0, 3, and 5. And now when you have a negative x, what that means, it'd be like a -1 times x. So -1 and then we're multiplying by our x value. So negative 1 times negative 5 plus 4, negative 1 times negative 3 plus 4, negative 1 times 0 plus 4, and so on. And if we calculate the y values, negative 1 times negative 5 is 5, plus 4 is 9. Negative 1 times negative 3 is 3, plus 4 is 7. Negative 1 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3, plus 4 is 1. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5, plus 4 is negative 1. So if we graph those points, we have negative 5, left 5, up 9. Negative 3, up 7. 0, up 4. Right 3, up 1. And right 5, down 1. And they're in a straight line, so I know I'm on the right track. Connect them and extend them. So there is your full lesson on if you have a function using an XY table to graph the function. Good luck with the lesson.